Richard Dean Winfield, who is a professor of philosophy at UGA, comes to us as a humble servant today.
Amen. Amen.
Though he bears many accolades, as you heard me mention, Doctor, he's educated by PhD. He has chosen to run for Congress. He's an aspirant for Congress, congressional seat of the 10th District.
Amen.
And so he comes along with his lovely wife, the Honorable Sujata Winfield.
Thank you.
Did I get close? All right.
Yeah,
She give
thank
me an
you.
A for effort. Who's an immigration attorney,
Amen.
who's running for this office, and he is running for the people. And I shared with them earlier this morning that that is what ministry is. That is what service is, synonymous terms. That our job is to be the voice for all of God's people,
Amen. Amen.
all races, all creeds,
Amen.
all faiths, because we're all people.
That's right.
Amen.
And so I'm happy to link arms with he and Apostle Knox, who bring this candidate before us this morning, just to hear him, so that when voting time comes next year, you would say, aha, I think I've seen that guy somewhere. Amen.
Amen.
So at this time, I will not delay. I would like for him to come up and just to address us briefly, as he has agreed to say hello to us, and so that we can be alert and be vigilant among our community. Because if you know anything about Plato's Republic, if you read that, not the Cliff Notes, now read the whole thing. In Plato's Republic, he speaks about the ideal city. And in the ideal city, about moral and ethics that makes society wonderful, there are no two different people.
That's right.
So there are no church folk,
That's right.
and then there are no everyday people.
That's right.
We
Amen.
are all one.
That's right.
Amen.
And so he comes to represent the unification of the people.
Amen.
Dr. Winfield, please join us. You're no stranger. Come on out. Pretend this is the lectern.
Thank you for having me.
Amen.
I came to Athens 35 years ago as a searcher for truth. I had gotten a job teaching philosophy at the University of Georgia, and I've been engaged for the last 35 years, thinking, writing about all the major issues we face, teaching thousands of students. But I've decided now to leave the ivory tower behind, or to follow the myth in the Republic, to go down into the cave amongst
That's what
everyone.
it
And the
is.
reason I want to do this is I feel that there's a new chapter in the struggle for freedom that needs to be inaugurated,
All
and that
right.
we all need to engage in. Because the very triumphs of the civil rights movement, which have largely succeeded in allowing the political and civil rights mandated in our Constitution to no longer be privileges that applied only to white men with a certain amount of property, but to now be enjoyed by more and more adults, no matter what their race or gender.
That's right.
Nevertheless, the very success of the civil rights movement has shown that those rights are not enough, because we are the most unequal nation in the developed world.
Amen.
The richest 1% have as much wealth as the bottom 90%. We have less social mobility than any other country in the developed world. So we can't tell our children, honestly, that they can expect a better future than what they are facing today. And the divide between white and black, as well as between men and women, has not diminished. As you know, African Americans suffer twice the rate of unemployment of whites. They earn 2/3 the income of whites. They have only 1/13 of the median family wealth of whites. We can talk of being one nation, but we are vastly divided in terms of opportunity and freedom. So what I want to turn to is a new agenda for a new social bill of rights that will ensure that we all actually have the material equality and opportunity that allows us to take care of our families and participate as equals in democratic government. And the key measure that once was spoken about and then disappeared from the political arena is the true right to work. The right of anyone who wants a job to have a job. And you know perfectly well there are millions of Americans who don't have a job, not because they're lazy, not because there's anything wrong with them, but because the market does not provide jobs for all. If our government is to really be for the people and allow us to pursue happiness, it has to step in and provide a job for anyone who wants one. And this is not fake work. We all know that there are many, many things that need to be done to serve our community that private industry is not taking care of. We know we have an infrastructure that needs repair. We need a new green infrastructure. We need to provide public transportation for all the people who don't have a car, who don't have the ability to drive, who can't get to work, can't get to doctors, can't get to entertainment, can't see their friends. We need to fix up substandard housing. We need to build affordable housing. We need to provide more services to our students in schools, to the elderly. We need to provide health assistance. There are all sorts of robot-proof occupations. And also, there are the arts. There's music, drama, film, all sorts of things that need to be provided to everyone. This is a big undertaking. It's possible. It was done 80 years ago, as you can remember, or as you may have heard from your grandparents, under the New Deal, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt put forward the Works Progress Administration, the Civilian Conservation Corps, that put 8.5 million people to work, providing us with the greatest public works we've ever had. He put it out as an emergency measure. But later in 1944, he spoke to the nation and said, we need to make this a permanent feature of a just society. And we need to do that today, because we have failed to do it. We have to guarantee anyone who wants a job. And you can think of how game-changing this is. Think of the young people who dropped out of school, or finished high school, or finished college. They face twice the unemployment of the rest of us. Think of people coming out of prison, many of whom landed up in prison because they didn't have a legal way of earning a decent living. And now when they come out of prison, think of how their lives will be changed if they have a guaranteed job. Think of people who we've sent to fight for our freedom, coming back, uncertain about having employment, many becoming homeless. What if instead they all knew they had a job awaiting for them? Now, this is the beginning of a new birth of freedom, a new secure foundation where we can be free of fear. But we all know it's not enough to have a job, because in America and in Athens, there are millions of people who have a job. In fact, they don't just have a job, they have 2 jobs or 3 jobs, because we allow poverty wages to be paid to people. We need to change that. If we're going to guarantee people a job, we have to guarantee people as a second basic social right, the right to a fair minimum wage. And a fair minimum wage is not a living wage. It's not just having enough to get by. It's enough to share justly in the growing prosperity of the nation. And that was the case from 1945 to 1973 for many Americans, because wages in general rose as the economy grew, as our productivity increased. In 73, that stopped. Wages stagnated. And what's happened? Wages have become a smaller and smaller part of our national wealth. We become more and more unequal. The wealth has gone to the top, where it's sitting there, unspent. And as a result, not only are we more unjust, our economy's growth has been halved. It's half of what it used to be. Because if we're going to spread the wealth, that's a recipe for economic dynamism. So what is a fair wage? Well, in 1968, the minimum wage was $1.60 an hour. If you adjust that for inflation, it's $10.50. If you adjust it for our productivity increases, the growth of the economy, what do you think it would be? What do you think it would turn out to be? Any guesses?
19.
More. Let's not be so
25.
$22. Well, I'm suggesting let's round it off. Let's call for a new national fair minimum wage of $20 an hour, or if you work 40 hours a week, you get $41,600 a year. And let's give that same support to anyone who's truly disabled or anyone who can no longer work.
Amen.
Now this is completely possible because our national income is $18 trillion. There are 160 million people who actually earn a living. The average, if you put the numbers together, is $112,000 per wage earner. Well, we know perfectly well that very few Americans make six figures, only 7%. So there's plenty of income there to raise the bottom. I don't want to talk about the middle class, because if you talk about the middle class, you're accepting a lower class. Let's get rid of the lower class. Let's abolish poverty. Let's bring everyone up to a fair minimum wage.
All right.
Now I want to add one more thing. We all know that it would be great, life-changing to have guaranteed jobs and a fair minimum wage. But many of us, and particularly the women among us, know that they have family responsibilities that fall on their shoulders, caring for children, caring for elders, that make it impossible for them to pursue their livelihood on a par with others. Child care is unaffordable. Elder care is unaffordable. As we get older and older, our lifespan increases. We know that there are elders who are going to have a year or two or more where they need assistance, and need assistance 24/7. And it's unaffordable, and people can't work, and women are the ones who are the main caretakers. 2/3 of family members who care for elders are women. 83% of single-parent households are run by women. They can't pursue their careers, and that means they're not going to get equal retirement with them either. So let's remove that difficulty. Let's have free public daycare, free public elder care, just like we set up a free public school system. And let's have child allowances of $500 per month per child, so we wipe out the scourge of childhood poverty, which affects almost half the people in our nation, half the children in our nation.
That's right.
You know, these are the beginnings of a recipe for a new social bill of rights, which can give everyone not welfare, not live on the dole, but the opportunity to be independent, to be able to earn a living, a decent living, support their families, and then have the time to be able to participate in politics and make further changes that need to be done. Now, obviously, there are other things that need to be done. We have to have health care for all. We have to ensure that in the public schools, your zip code does not mean that your kids are going to get less money for their schooling. We need to do a lot of things to make sure no one is evicted, no one is foreclosed, that we have mandatory rescheduling of payments, and we need to make sure we're all equal before the law, that money doesn't determine whether we can get legal representation. We need a legal care system. We can go to any lawyer you want for both criminal and civil cases, and it will be paid for by a legal insurance fund, just like a Medicare for all system. Well, that will ensure that we can fight for our rights, because our rights are not going to be enforced unless we are equal before the law. Now, these are the kind of issues I want to put before the public, and I hope that you can join me in this adventure of changing the minds of the people in the 10th district who've been seduced by a demigod and with the falsehoods of that demigod. So thank you for your time. I hope to have a chance to see you.
Thank you so very much.